Welcome to the Longest Take podcast. Thank you for tuning in to the Longest Take podcast. In today's episode, I will be sharing the recorded Q&A session after this past weekend's Shortcut 100 International Film Festival. The Shortcut 100 International Film Festival is an annual showcase dedicated to promoting the best in independent short film from both established and emerging filmmakers. For the same amount of time as an average feature film, around 100 minutes, they offer the audiences access to up-and-coming voices and unique artistic visions of independent cinema from around the world. Based in Chicago and presented by Pixquid, every year features an opening program online and then an in-person closing night reception, award ceremony chosen by the audience, and an after-party with the filmmakers in attendance. So as you may have guessed, this past weekend was that closing ceremony, and they had around 8 short films presented. One of which was Connection at the End of the World, a project that I wrote and directed, and also featured people a part of that crew in the last couple episodes of this podcast series. Along with our short film, we have Seeds of Change, directed by Francis Wilkerson, Blood is Thicker, directed by Melissa Skirball, Holiday Heartbreak, directed by Erick Juarez, Ring Ring, directed by Lucas Xavier Symes, Nan, directed by Lily Laura Newton, Belly, directed by Lomei, Clear Bikes, directed by Molly Weinstein. And as it pertains to the Q&A, the filmmakers that were there are going to introduce themselves and the film that they are part of. Thank you for tuning in and enjoy today's episode. Apologies for the sound. It was taken from camera footage.
So say your name and the film you're with.
Lomei, directed Belly.
Sarah Kopp, writer and extremely pregnant person in Belly.
Francis Wilkerson, writer, director, and producer of Seeds of Change.
Hello, Erick Juarez, director, writer, producer of Holiday Heartbreak.
Sean Slimak, writer and director of Connection at the End of the World.
Elena West, I was one of the actors in Connection at the End of the World.
I'm Natalie Zeke. I was the composer for The Connection at the End of the World.
I'm Brian Barry Butler. I filmed Connection and sound design.
I'm Jake Nolan. I was production designer on Ring Ring.
I'm Lincoln Rogers. I was the producer and the director of photography of Ring Ring.
All right, big hand for everybody, please. So I wanna start with Belly, since you guys are right next to me. It's not my phone call. So Belly, did Sarah come to you with this idea of Belly, or did you come up with the idea with Sarah when she was pregnant, said let's make a movie, or how'd that come about?
Yeah, she came to me with the idea of while she was pregnant. She had written a script, and yeah, we were like, yeah, let's go ahead and do it. Didn't take too long to do, actually, just maybe like half a day. But yeah, she came to me with the initial idea.
I actually got the idea at the premiere of my first ever film. I was 5 months pregnant and already gigantic. And someone made a joke, it's really hard to make a film that's under 10 minutes with a full story. And I'm like, oh, really? And I was very pregnant, waddling around everywhere. I'm like, that would be hilarious to just make something while I'm pregnant. So yeah, made that when I was 8 months pregnant, and actually did get even bigger than that. Yeah.
So tell us about how long was the shoot? Was it a day? Was it because the time period of the film is 15 minutes? So how long was the shoot though?
The shoot was actually maybe about 6 or 7 hours. Yeah, it didn't really take too long. I actually, I directed and got a DP actually.
That's amazing. Actually, 6 to 7 hours. Sarah, how much of this was improvised and how much of it was scripted?
So a script for this movie actually exists. It really does. But I was way too pregnant to be able to memorize anything. If you've never had a child, your brain basically turns to liquid when you're pregnant. So I looked at my own script and I'm like, yeah, there's no way I'm going to do that. So on the day we talked about the basic beats of it, and I knew I was going to do the gags and kind of came up with everything else in between the gags in the moment.
The marker, like how did that idea come up? Did it come up while you were shooting? You're like, oh, I should just mark up my body.
Yeah. That idea actually came up while I was doing the writing. Like, that was a written moment. I specifically looked for a song that had was in the public domain, so that way we wouldn't have to pay for it. And fun fact, the marker on my eyebrows did not come off for about 3 days.
That's commitment. You didn't have to go to work that way, did you?
Okay. No, I was weird anyways.
So let's. So this line of films were a lot of serious topics were covered in these films. And I thought it was interesting because like Belly and Ring Ring kind of bookends is very serious films. So I'm gonna go with the Ring Ring. Did this happen in real life?
Yes, this is the way that the Chicago 911 system works. It is a robocall menu. So yes, this does happen in real life, and that did happen to him. It was all real.
The operator I thought was genius. And it was so funny because when you call like 311, you always expect somebody to sound like they're from Chicago, right? But tell me about the idea about the operator.
So the operator's name is Bernie Starzewski. He is classically a Chicago accented gentleman. He did a great job for us, and the idea really was just that you call Chicago 911 and you hear a pre-recorded message, and it's the same message that you heard 30 seconds ago when you called the Department of Streets and Sanitation. And it's a guy who sounds like he doesn't really care about you in any way, shape, or form. And so we did indeed hire a voice actor, Bernie Starzewski, and he did a great job for us. Yeah.
His last name even sounds Chicagoan. I don't know. So the location of the trash compactor. Tell us about the location you used, because most of the film shot in this trash compactor. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so we shot some of it exterior down by the lake, just outside of the building. But then the actual trash compactor set was shot inside a moving warehouse because it was a set. And I'll let Jake talk about the set because he built it.
Yeah, so we were able to get this space in the middle of a furniture moving warehouse. A couple times we got interrupted during our shoots by having to move furniture, and so we had to help out and get stuff moved around us. But yeah, we had a couple days a day before we shot to set up a back wall on jacks, and then there's these two rolling dollies that kind of brought along a track that help the compactor compact. So.
It's all made of wood, and Jake built it in his backyard.
Amazing. I want to move on to Holiday Heartbreak. Tell us about the axe. Yes, the axe at the.
What is there to say about the axe? Well, yeah, she kills him with an axe.
Tell us about the twist then. What did that mean?
What do you mean? This twist?
I felt that there was the twist was at the end.
When she reveals that the axe is there. Yeah, so she's basically trying to buy this gift for this guy that she's in love with, and she thinks that, he's obsessed with her or he loves her, but her heart is broken. So the only thing that she thinks to do is to kill this guy. So she asks him, you know, red or white, red or black, and that was just as a metaphor for her dressing and her going in red, basically in her mind. But we didn't want to show the blood. We thought that that was going to be too cheesy and just not, you know, your mind is a lot darker than what we could do. That's such a low budget, you know, film. But yeah, that's what the acts came in. So
in a way, you kind of like telegraph what might happen. But I'm still surprised. At least I was still kind of surprised.
yeah.
At the end, was that intentional then? Like you were
Yeah, it was always intentional that she's shopping for this gift and not that we, you know, the axe just comes in as a surprise. So yeah.
Yeah. So because of this twist at the end of the film, how did you pitch that to the actors then when you were pitching them the film?
Yeah, you know, we talked about why would she do something like this, and the idea was that maybe she's done something like this in the past. Like, why is she so revengeful, right? So maybe this is something that triggers her, and she just can't get over it. And this time, she decides to take some dark action. Maybe a little bit of like mental health as well, you know. So yeah.
Why during Christmas?
It was during Christmas that we shot it, so it helped out with like locations and stuff. And it was also like, what is the worst time that someone could cheat on you or someone could do something to you? And you know, any holiday just seemed to be like the worst time that someone could be alone. So if she's gonna go alone, she could take him out.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Hannah. So, connection at the end of the world. A little bit of different idea for end of the world story. Tell us about the thought process behind putting that together, that unique story about these two people.
So like right up front, the idea of, you know, the world ending, that's something that I think about a lot. Just, I mean, having anxiety, you're always thinking about like what can go wrong, but I'm really enamored by movies such as Past Lives, the Before trilogy, you know, these movies where two people are connecting, but it's just through conversation. So I wanted to capture something like that, and I wanted to give it like a dire scenario, you know, in this case, it's the end of the world, right? And I felt that, you know, and another thing that that we did to try to capture that as authentically as possible is shoot it in one take. And with that one take, we're sitting with them in the literal last few minutes of their life. And I wanted that to be unbroken, and really it just, you know, I think that we think about the end of the world in such a negative, you know, anxiety ridden way, but I feel like having connection there, it kind of makes it bittersweet, you know. It's hard.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that the setup is like they're on a date.
Yeah, no, they met each other on a dating app, and they were at this bar. They were just eating, and then the sirens start going off.
But then we don't see that, right?
Right. We just hear it. That's the sound at the beginning.
And I want to ask you about the one take, but did you guys plan the route ahead of time?
Yeah, actually, myself and Brian, we went to this spot a few days before, and we were just kind of walking in that area and mapping it out in our heads. And then our first take that we did with Elena and Joelle was, we didn't really talk. They did the script in their head, and we were just kind of trying to map it out and time it.
So, Elena, what was your reaction when they pitched this movie to you? So you were going to play somebody that was on a date but about to die.
I thought the script was so beautiful. I mean, that was my honest first reaction. I thought it was just like so well written and simple. And, Sean had written in some of those humanization and like, and, and that kind of stuff. And I knew I had permission to make it really fluid and real. And Joelle and I treated it like a piece of theater, but just like super real. Like we both come from theater background, and so we both just knew exactly what to do with that. We weren't intimidated by 15 minutes, no cuts. Like,
yeah,
we just treated it like a conversation. And yeah.
Did you guys get to rehearse that conversation before you went in this long take then?
Yeah, we did a couple of Zoom rehearsals and we talked through it, and we talked through like, what's this person going through? Like, what was their life before this? You know, there's some grammatical things. I'm using past tense. She's using present tense. Does that mean I've made peace with it ending and she hasn't? And we talked about how they're kind of foils to each other. There's, you know, the atheist and the Christian, or the nihilist and the Christian, but then they find this common ground, and, you know, they both realize like, we're not going to be alone in this last moment. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful arc. And yeah, like Sean said, it's like, it's their last moments through a real conversation, and no phones and no service. And it's all ending, but like at the end they have each other, and they're complete strangers, but they have this really interesting intimacy because that's it. That's the last person you look at, and then it's done.
So the why did you decide to have like a score for the film? Like, you could have just used generic music, but you decided to get somebody to score it, right?
Right, yeah. Natalie is phenomenal with music, and when I was looking for a score, I'd already met Natalie beforehand, and I just hit her up and I was like, hey, can I listen to some of the stuff that you've done? And yeah, I still listen to one of the tracks she sent me, and I used the very end sequence with the montage. I used a like actual track of hers when I was first putting it together, because I was like, dude, this is awesome. And then yeah, Natalie, if you want to just talk about the creation of this score.
Yeah, well, I was super excited that Sean loved this piece of mine. I just kind of, it was like a submission for school. So actually, it was the first thing that I scored was the montage scene. So I kind of built it upon the previous song using the similar instruments, similar synths, and I'm a violinist, so I also added my own, you know, live strings, which is really helpful. And then kind of went from there when the rest of the film was ready. I also actually I struggled to compose for the rest of the film because I felt like, you know, just like the before trilogy, they didn't have music in there at all. It was just pure dialogue. I thought the script was amazing. I was like, I can't make anything better than like, I can't support the script like this. How am I going to do this? But I figured out a way. And I kind of used the sounds, like the way I work when I compose it. Also, I use the surrounding sounds within the film. So I took the sirens and I created something from it. And then I really tried to follow the script with emotions, and I just did my best, and I guess it worked. So, and then floated into the montage scene, and I definitely was very emotional for me at the end because, you know, it's sad. Like I was inspired by the scene from the Star Wars. I can't remember what it's called right now.
Rogue One.
Rogue One. Oh, I cried when I first watched that movie, and it was like, that's what it reminded me of. So I was like, okay, it's such a beautiful film, and it was just a pleasure to write the music for it. So it was really special. So yeah, and the cinematography is great.
Yeah.
And the acting, oh my gosh.
No, yeah, they keep talking about the script, but really the people that made the great project are the ones sitting here. The script was just okay. Don't let them fool you. It was just okay. Don't let them fool you. It was brought to life by these guys sitting here. Absolutely.
All right, let's move on to Seeds of Change. What made you decide to kind of tackle this super heavy topic?
So I wrote the piece in 2015, and at the time I wanted to just explore what it would take to heal racism in this country. I just wanted to write and see and explore that topic. Like, what is it going to take, for the love of God, at some point, right? So that's what inspired me. And then it takes place in a sundown town, and that was based on an experience. Me and a friend of mine ended up in a sundown town accidentally. So I'm going to merge those two together and just kind of
explain what a sundown is.
So a sundown town is a town, historically, they say they're former sundown towns, but we know that ideas and things like that can exist through family and generations. But it's a town where if you were caught after sundown and you were Black or Jewish or any other race, you could be killed. So you had to, even if you worked in that town, you had to leave by sundown. And it's not really real known. A lot of people think that sundown towns were in the South, that a majority of them were in the South, but actually the majority of them were in the Midwest. You think of Illinois, you think of Indiana, you think of Pennsylvania. You see there's a map that has them all mapped out, and it's just a huge red blob in the Midwest. So I wanted to tackle that, and that's why it takes place in Illinois. Yeah, Illinois.
Talk to us about your intention of the location, because it's a small town. At least you get that feel like it's a small town.
Yes, very rural. A lot of sundown towns were rural. There are places I won't go in Illinois. I won't drive to that are very rural. I'll be very careful. I will stay on the highway after the incident that happened to me in Appalachia, Pennsylvania. I was on the main highway, but the car broke down and we had to get off and go to a gas station. It was pretty far in, and when that hair just, when you see the people and then the hair just goes to the back of your neck and you know you're not safe. And we drove all the way back to Chicago in first gear because we couldn't get out in first gear, but we couldn't stay. So yeah, it took place in a rural town because that's where the sundown towns were, mainly rural towns.
So you came up with this in 2015?
Yeah, I wrote it in 2022. So we started in January of 2020 with pre-production, and then COVID hit in March of 2020. And so that was never make a film during a pandemic. That's all I have to say about that. So it just was this piecemeal. When am I going to shoot? When is it going to happen? I got to keep my crew and cast safe, right? And then SAG came up with rules, but it just wasn't time. But then around 2022, it felt like something was opening up and we could do it in piecemeals. But of course, the first weekend after we shot, someone tested positive. So we had to reschedule everything for the summer. Everything, the locations and everything like that. But luckily at that time, there were a lot of rules that say, hey, if you needed to cancel, we can, we won't take your money. We won't put it towards something else. So it worked out, but it was stressful. It was stressful.
Sorry. Does anybody have any questions of any of the filmmakers? We'll take a couple questions. Anybody? No? Anybody? Where? Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I have a question. I was just wondering if you could speak to directing such a small child and what that was like and what I'm just curious about it.
Oh yeah, no problem. So the actress's name was Cora. She was 7 at the time. I love working with children. I know they say don't work with children as dogs or animals, but I find working with children very pleasurable. But there is a catch. You're really interviewing the parent that's going to be on set. You want to make sure that they know what it's like to be on set, that their child has done other work. The child obviously is important too as well. Cora was amazing. I mean, she felt everything. I didn't have to do much, but it's important for the parent to be very wise to what's going on and understand that it's you're going to be sitting for long periods of time, bring something to do, So I would say make sure that a parent understands the process too.
Anybody else? Yes, you.
I have a question for connections. So this story feels really emotional. Is there a large influence from your life of director Scott that you portray from the screen on the screen?
Okay. All right, we got it. Okay. So you're asking from a personal perspective with writing this, just kind of if there's anything that, personally, I would say the biggest thing on one hand is the anxiety, right? I think that, just having anxiety about the world ending is something that I'm sure anybody could relate to. But also I think that, there's something so precious about connecting with another person. And with experiences that I've had, with other people, with my relationships, my friendships, things of that nature, I think that, that's such an interesting and important thing to explore in a script. And that's why I said earlier, I gravitate heavily towards movies like Past Lives or Before Trilogy. Because I really think that there's something there when you're able to get people to connect just by talking. Because, in other movies, there might be, intimacy and these other things that we kind of get. So I think that, there's importance to a conversation, and I really wanted to try to capture that. That answers your question.
All right.
All right, everyone. One more hand for all the filmmakers, please. So I'm sure you'll be able to ask them more questions.